Discussing tax treatment of provident fund. So here basically there is a provident fund scheme. There is provident fund scheme where the employer makes a contribution, employee makes a contribution, and their contributions are say invested in the government schemes, and interest is credited to the provident fund account. When the employee leaves the organization, or say when he retires from the organization, he is given the amount from the provident fund. He can also take loan from the provident fund. So here basically the provident funds are, one is the employer's contribution, one is the employee's contribution, and they are what? The investments on which interest is earned. So basically we will be discussing about the tax treatment of the provident fund. So here we have, one is the statutory provident fund. Statutory provident fund is there. Other one is a recognized provident fund, and one is unrecognized provident fund. So what statutory provident fund is? The statutory provident fund, the same is set up under the provisions of the Provident Fund Act 1925, and it is maintained by the government organizations, semi-government organizations, local authorities, railways, and recognized educational institutions. So statutory provident fund, the same is set up under the PF Act 1925, and it is maintained by the government, semi-government organizations. It is maintained by the local authorities, railways, universities, and the recognized educational institutions. Then one is what? The recognized provident fund. One is the recognized provident fund. In case we have, these are set up under the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. They are set up under the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. Besides this, the employer can make his own scheme, and the scheme when gets a recognition from the PF Commissioner as well as the Commissioner of Income Tax, CCIT or CIT, or the Principal CIT or Principal CCIT, then it is known as Recognized Provident Fund. And the fund which do not get the recognition, it is known as the Unrecognized Provident Fund. So we have statutory provident fund, we have recognized provident fund, and we have what? The unrecognized provident fund. So we will be discussing about what? The tax treatment in respect of the recognized provident fund. We will be discussing about the tax treatment of the unrecognized provident fund, and we will be discussing about the tax treatment of the, the statutory provident fund. So first of all, here one is the unrecognized provident fund, one is the recognized provident fund, and one is the statutory provident fund, and we have the particulars. As we have told you, what? Employers' contribution to provident fund. It is the employer's contribution to the provident fund. Here it is exempt from tax. Here it is exempt up to 12% of salary. Here it is exempt up to 12% of salary. And in case of unrecognized provident fund, it is exempt from tax. Besides this, in this case, if employer contribution, as we have discussed earlier also, if employer contribution to RPF plus NPS plus approved superannuation fund exceeds how much amount? 7,50,000 rupees. It exceeds 7,50,000 rupees. Excess amount is taxable. Excess amount is taxable. We have discussed it earlier also while we were discussing the tax treatment of the perquisites. So here the employer's contribution to the recognized provident fund. In case of state-very provident fund, the same is exempt from tax. In case of recognized provident fund, it is exempt up to 12% of salary, and in case of unrecognized provident fund, it is exempt. Then employee's contribution whether qualifies for deduction under section 80C. Employee's contribution to whether qualifies for deduction under 80C. Here it qualifies. Whatever amount the employee contribute to the state-very provident fund, he can get a deduction under chapter 6A under section 80C while computing his total income. From GTI, this deduction is allowed. Here also it qualifies, and here it do not qualify. Then interest credited to provident fund. Interest credited to provident fund. In case if any interest is credited to the provident fund, if any interest is credited to the provident fund, it is what? Exempt. Here it is exempt up to 9.5% per annum. But if any contributions exceed 7,50,000 rupees, then in case if any interest or dividend is accredited to that on that excess contribution, the same will be chargeable to tax. Here it is exempt from tax. Then, in case if any lump sum payment, is received at a time of retirement, or say leaving the job. If you receive any lump sum payment at a time of retirement or leaving the job, the same is exempt. The same is what? Exempt. Here, you know, it is exempt unless the fund is URPF. Unless the fund is treated as URPF. And in URPF, as I will tell you, employer contribution same is taxable as salary. Interest on employer contribution is also taxable as salary. Employee contribution is exempt. Interest on employee contribution same is taxable as income from other sources. interest on the employee contribution, it is taxable as income from other sources. So when the recognized provident fund is treated as unrecognized, when the recognized provident fund is treated as unrecognized, for an employee, if he leaves the organization without rendering services of 5 years or more, then it is a unrecognized provident fund. But he leaves the organization. Why he leaves the organization? He leaves the organization because of the discontinuance of employer's business, or say because of his ill health, or say reasons beyond his control. Then in that case, taxation will not arise. Similarly, if he has transferred his balance from recognized provident fund of the current employer to another employer where he will be joining, then also taxability will not arise. Similarly, for say counting 5 years of service, if he has served say in ABC Limited, there he has served for 3 years, and he has transferred his balance from ABC Limited to PQR Limited employer, recognized provident fund, and in PQR Limited he has served for 3 years. Now his total service period will be 3 plus 3, 6 years. And since it is more than 5 years, he will be what? Getting the benefit of the exemption. Or say in case if he say gets the amount invested in the NPS scheme, then also the exemption will be there. So now we are just, what we have discussed, we are revising the same. That is what the tax treatment of the provident fund. Here, number one is the employer's contribution. So the employer's contribution to the statutory provident fund, the same is exempt from tax. In case of recognized provident fund, it is exempt up to 12% of salary. In case of unrecognized provident fund, the same is not taxable when the contribution is made. Then whether employee's contribution basically is deducted from salary. So it is own contribution. So here, employee contribution, whether it qualifies for deduction under ATC. Well, yes, the employee contribution, the same qualifies for deduction under ATC, whether it's a statutory provident fund or whether it's a recognized provident fund. But in case of unrecognized provident fund, the same is not eligible for deduction. Then what about the interest which is credited to the provident fund? In case of statutory provident fund, the same is exempt from tax. In case of recognized provident fund, it is exempt up to 9.5% per annum. In case of recognized provident fund, the interest which is credited, the same is exempt up to 9.5% per annum. It is exempt up to what? 9.5% per annum. In excess, the amount will be taxable. So, for example, if the interest is credited at rate of 12%, and this interest amount is 1,20,000 rupees, then 1,20,000 divided by 12 into 2.5. In excess of 9.5, it is 2.5. So it will be 25,000 rupees. The same will be taxable. Then lump sum payment which is received at a time of retirement or termination of service. So in case of any lump sum payment is received at a time of retirement or termination of service, the same is exempt from tax under section 1011 in case of statutory provident fund. In case of recognized provident fund, the same is exempt from tax in some cases. When it will not be exempt, when the same will not be exempt, it will be what? Treated as an unrecognized provident fund. Basically, it is exempt. In some cases, when not exempt, the fund will be treated as unrecognized provident fund from the very beginning. And in case of unrecognized provident fund, the employer's contribution and interest thereon, the same is taxable as salary. The employee's contribution will not be taxed again because it has been taxed earlier, and interest on the employee's contribution, the same is taxable as what? The income from other sources. It is taxable as income from other sources. Now here we are saying that the employer contribution is exempt up to 12% of salary. So salary means what? Basic salary. plus DNS allowance if it forms part of retirement benefits, plus percentage wise fixed commission on turnover achieved, plus percentage wise fixed commission on turnover achieved. So tax treatment of provident fund we have discussed. Besides this, I have already told you an amendment has been made by the Finance Act 2020, and the same has been effective from assessment year 21-22, that the amount or the aggregate of the amounts of contributions which is made to the account of the SSC by the employer in recognized provident fund, or say in NPS account, or in say superannuation fund account. In case it exceeds rupees 7,50,000 in the previous year, the same is taxable. So in case the same exceeds rupees what? 7,50,000 in the previous year, it is what? Taxable. Then besides this, in whatever contributions are in excess of 7,50,000, if any interest, dividend or any other amount of a similar nature has been credited in that account, then that amount will also be what? Taxable. So that has been the amendment which has been made by the Finance Act. Then we have said that if any lump sum payment is received, at a time of retirement or termination of service, if lump sum payment is received at a time of retirement or termination of service, the same is exempt from tax. In case the employee has rendered continuous service with his employer for a period of 5 years or more, in case the employee has rendered continuous service with the employer for a period of 5 years or more, or say the service is terminated due to his ill health, or say of the employee, or discontinuance of the employer's business, or for reasons beyond his control. And in case on cessation of the employment, he takes employment with another employer, then the exemption will be admissible if the accumulated balance in PF has been transferred to the recognized provident fund which has been maintained by the other employer, or the entire balance standing to the credit of the employee, the same is transferred under the NPS account. Then also the taxability will not arise. And in counting the period of service of 5 years, as I have already told you, the services which are rendered with the previous employer will be included if the PF balance has been transferred from previous employer to the current employer from where he is what? Leaving the job. Then if the fund is unrecognized provident fund, in case fund was unrecognized provident fund and it is subsequently given recognition, if the fund is unrecognized provident fund and the same is subsequently given recognition, it is given recognition, it becomes now the recognized provident fund. So in case the fund is recognized provident fund from very beginning, means the inception of fund. How much amount is taxable? How much amount would be taxable had the fund been recognized from the very beginning? How much amount would have been taxable? Had the fund been recognized from the very beginning, how much amount would have been taxable? Will become taxable. It will become taxable in the year in which fund is given recognition. So here, in case if an unrecognized provident fund, is converted into recognized provident fund, then the amount to be taxed shall be the amount which is arrived by treating the fund as recognized provident fund from its very inception, that is from the year of what? The creation of the fund. So that is about the tax treatment of the provident fund. Then about the approved superannuation fund, section 10(13) provides for the exemption in respect of superannuation fund. Here about the employer's contribution to the fund. Basically, the employer's contribution to the superannuation fund is exempt. However, if the aggregate amount which has been contributed to the recognized provident fund or say NPS account and the approved superannuation account, it does not exceed rupees 7,50,000. It does not exceed rupees 7,50,000 in the previous year, then it is exempt. But in case it exceeds rupees 7,50,000, then such excess amount will be what? Chargeable to tax. Then employees' contribution to recognized provident, to approved superannuation fund, whether it qualifies for deduction under 80C. Well, yes, the employees' contribution qualifies for deduction under section 80C, and interest credited to the employee's account, the same is exempt. However, if any annual accretion is by way of interest, dividend or any other amount of similar nature during the previous year to the balance at the credit of the fund or scheme, that is the NPS account, approved superannuation account and RPF account, then whatever amount is in excess of 7,50,000, interest credited to that account on that portion, the same will be what? Chargeable to tax. So here, if total contribution is say 10 lakh rupees, on 10 lakh rupees, say 1 lakh rupees is the interest element which has been credited to the account, then up to 7,50,000, 75,000 rupees interest will be there, it will be exempt, and 25,000 rupees interest which is in excess of say whatever contribution is in excess of 7,50,000 interest thereon, it will be what? Taxable. Then when we receive any payment, when we subsequently receive any payment from the superannuation fund, exemption has been provided under section 10(13). So section 10(13) basically grants exemption when payment is received from superannuation fund. So in case say if any annuity is received, say if any annuity is received from superannuation fund, if any annuity is received from superannuation fund, it will be what? Taxable. However, exemption will be there in the following cases if any amount is received from the superannuation fund. In case if it is received by the legal heirs on the death of the beneficiary, if it is received by the legal heirs on the death of the beneficiary, then it will be exempt. Or it is in the form of refund of contribution on the death of the beneficiary. If it is refund of the contribution on the death of the beneficiary, the same will also be exempt. If the annuity is commuted, if this annuity is commuted, so to an employee in substitution or commutation of an annuity on his retirement or after a specified age, or if he becomes incapable prior to the retirement, to an employee in substitution or commutation of an annuity on his retirement or say at a specified age, or if he becomes incapable prior to his say retirement, or in form of refund of the contribution to an employee leaving the service in circumstances to the extent the payment does not exceed what? The contributions which have been made prior to the commencement of the act and interest thereon. Or if the amount which is received from the superannuation fund is transferred to the NPS account, then also the taxability will not arise. If the amount is where transferred to the NPS account, then also the taxability in such case will not arise. So this exemption has been provided in respect of, approved superannuation fund. So this was the tax treatment of the recognized provident fund and approved superannuation fund. We will be discussing one question here, and then we will be discussing the remaining part relating to what the tax treatment in case you get a relief under section 89, how you will be getting the same. Now here it was one question is there. Mr. M is an area manager of N Steels Company Limited, and during the previous year 20XY, he gets the following emoluments that has been provided. That is, basic salary is there, transport allowance is there. As you are aware, transport allowance is fully taxable. Contribution to recognized provident fund, then children education allowance, city compensatory allowance, hostel expense allowance, tiffin allowance, and tax paid on employment. Compute your taxable salary of Mr. M. So here we have to compute what? Computation of taxable salary of Mr. M for assessment year 20XYXZ. First is about the basic salary. Basic salary is 20,000 into April, May, June, July, August plus 25,000 into 7. So here is, this works out to be how much? 2,75,000. That is, his basic salary is how much? 2,75,000. As you are aware, transport allowance is fully taxable. So how much transport allowance he is receiving? This transport allowance is fully taxable. Transport allowance is 2,000 per month. It is fully taxable. Hence, this 24,000 rupees which transport allowance is received, here it is what? Fully taxable. Then, the employer's contribution to recognized provident fund in excess of 12% of salary. Here he has contributed 15%. They have given 15% of basic salary and DA. But in the question they have given this information, but DNS allowance is not there. But whatever information has been provided, from that we are finding out. Here no DA information is there, so we will be taking in excess of 3% of the salary, that is basic salary, we will be taking 12% means 3% of basic salary. In excess of 12%, he has contributed 15%. Therefore, it's 3% of rupees 2,75,000. That works out to be how much? 275,000 into 3%, 8,250. Then they have provided children education allowance. Children education allowance has been provided. How much children education allowance? 500 per month for 2 children. But they have not said per child. Therefore, we are doing in this manner. If it would have been per child, then 500 into 2 into 12. Less exempt for 2 children. Children education is allowed exempt, allowance is exempt up to 100 rupees per month per child. So taxable amount, it is 6,000 rupees. Exempt amount is 2,400 rupees. So taxable amount is 3,600 rupees. Then they have city compensatory allowance. City compensatory allowance is fully taxable. City compensatory allowance is fully taxable. 3,600 rupees is fully taxable. Then we have, hostel expense allowance. Hostel expense allowance. Here it is 380 per month for 2 children. Less exempt. Here 190 is the amount which is received. Up to 300 is exempt. 190 into 2 into 12. So hostel expense allowance won't be taxable. Tiffin allowance. Tiffin allowance is fully taxable. Tiffin allowance is fully taxable. Then tax paid on employment. Tax paid on employment by the employer. $2,500. So this works out to be his gross salary. How much gross salary is receiving? That is, we will be calculating now the gross salary, 2,75,000 plus 24,000 is transport allowance. 8,250 is employer's contribution to recognized provident fund. 3,600 is children education allowance. 3,600 is CCA. 5,000 is the tiffin allowance, and 2,500 is the tax paid on employment. So his gross salary works out to be 3,21,950. This is gross salary. 321,950. We'll give standard deduction of 50,000 rupees and professional tax 2,500 rupees. Hence the income from salary, it works out to be how much? 2,69,450 rupees. 2,69,450 rupees. This is the income from salary. So this was about the tax treatment of the Provident Fund scheme, which we have discussed. Now we will be discussing about the next topic will be how you will be computing the arrears relief when arrear or advance salary is received.